Hi, I know many of you are thinking of creating your own online course. Maybe it's the first course, maybe it's the second course, but you are involved in this course creation, if you will. So today, that's really what we want to discuss. We want to discuss what's really necessary to create your course and what's really the most important thing. So with that, let me bring my friend and colleague, Patrick Howell.
Hey.
Here he is. Patrick, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, Brazzo.
Did you have your morning coffee, tea? No, you got
I
your
did,
tea
yeah.
first.
Yeah, I had my team ready to go. And I know we're going to talk about creating the first online course if somebody who hasn't done it before. We're not going to be able to get so deep into it.
No, we're not. And because, we're keeping this to about 15 minutes. But what you and I kind of discussed even like a couple of minutes before the show, we know there's so much involved in creating an online course. And look, there are courses and courses, right, to tell you how to create an online course. But before you even get started, or if you created one and you were not so successful, I think that's really what we want to discuss, right? So before you get started, or you created one but you're not successful, whatever definition of your success is. So let's talk about that. What's the first thing we need to do or think of before we start creating the course?
And that's a really important topic, or else you can spin your wheels for a very long time. Both you and I have created multiple online courses, some extremely successful internationally, and some, dare I say, in the beginning, flops.
Yes. Right? Yes, we had to unpublish them.
Unpublished courses. So for all the courses where you might see 50,000 students in an online course that myself or Brazzo has published in various marketplaces or on our own, there are also maybe there's one that's that didn't do so well. And so I think it's really important learning from, and hopefully we can, that's the whole idea of this, is sharing whatever we've learned in the past to help anybody who's just starting out, or like you said, or did something in the past and they're wanting to unpublish it, of how to correct that, moving forward. So I would say that the first thing, and I know this is something you agree with because we've talked about this, is really spending that time to determine what your goal is, what your outcome for that course is, before just creating a course. And I'll stop there and then get your feedback, and then we'll expand on what that really means.
Yeah, yes. So let's expand on this. And what came to my mind now, as you said, we did so many of these courses. I was thinking years ago when we spent weekends and weekends recording, right? Yes. None of that was ever published. Why? Because we didn't think of that one thing that we're going to talk about now, right?
Yes, really creating that and determining what your goal is, what your outcome is up front. And what do we mean by goal or outcome? I think that's really important. So we're not necessarily talking about, do you want to help people? Because of course you want to help people. Brazzo and I, when we created some courses that weren't so successful in the past, they came from a good intention, of course, right? Coaches, I always submit that anybody who is in a coaching profession wakes up in the morning with a "how can I help" attitude. So that's already ingrained. So that's a gimme.
Better be.
Right? It's there already.
Yeah.
But determining your goal or your specific outcome really revolves around, it can revolve around, is it a financial goal? Like, are you creating a course specifically to bring lots of revenue to your business, to your coaching business? Are you creating a niche course, or a niche course, as some people around the world say it, where it's specifically for people who are already in a coaching mastermind of yours and it's only going to them? Are you creating a course that you're going to sell to businesses? So really understanding what is your major, what is your major outcome? What is your major goal?
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up. I think it's really, really important because, and some of us may have multiple goals, right? And that same course may or may not be able to adjust it to the multiple goals. So let's say, the goal may be, yes, I want to create some additional income, but at the same time, I want to think about how do I bring this to my existing clients, right?
Yes.
How do I bring this to my future clients? How do I, as you said, am I going to bring this to the market? And I know a lot of people are maybe confused. What's a marketplace versus having my own platform? And it's just to put it briefly, it's like giving the course, putting it somewhere else to sell versus you doing everything on your own, right? So there's a big difference there. Big difference in many aspects of publishing.
And one of the things to understand is that if you're creating a course to bring additional revenue to your business, okay, with the intention, right, that you're helping other people, so that's already the backbone. I don't think we even have to discuss that. That's already there. So you're giving really high quality, value and experience, and this is going to be maybe a division of your business or a subsection of your business where you're creating online courses. If it is to bring revenue, then determining an angle for your topic is extremely important, because it's not to say that even you and I in the beginning did the work maybe wasn't extremely valuable. It was extremely valuable to certain people, and yet we didn't consider that, hey, as divisions of our business, this has to bring revenue. So what is the topic, or what is the slant on the topic? What is the variation or the variant of the topic that people will actually pay for, that's selling out there in the global marketplace? So really determining, hey, if you're looking to make money, then you have to understand that you have to do a topic that's going to make money.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And this is really interesting because Patrick and I had a lot of discussion about this, and agreements and disagreements about doing the research, right? Which you really have to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I beg of you, don't find something that's going to sell really great and just do the course because it's going to sell great.
No.
Right? So we just want to explain.
You want to find a match between what really drives you, what really motivates you, what wakes you up in the morning, gets you going.
That's it.
With what also sells in the marketplace.
That's it. I just wanted to make this really clear. So you have to be passionate about this topic. You have to love it. You have to, you experienced it already. You lived it. You coached it. You trained it, whatever, everything, right? You live this topic. And at the same time, it's going to sell, right? Although
most topics will sell. It's the package that you put it in, right? It's instead of just, it really does revolve around that research piece of understanding, okay, well, I have this passion, I have this experience. I don't want to go out and make something up, but I want to use my passion experience and I want to package it the right way. I want to present it the right way. And most likely in any field that you're in or any niche that you want to do a coaching program in, there is already somebody out there who's making a big success of it. And you want to find out what they're doing. Like, how did they angle it? Like, what approach did they take to make it more appealing, where people actually click a button, actually pay for that online course?
Right. And that's a good point, right? So most likely there's somebody making, but there could also be that there's nobody there that you can be extremely successful. It's possible, right?
Yes.
So I know a person who does a course on how to train horses or something, which I was like, well, who would watch that? And making a ton of money, right? I mean, just giving one example. So you could really, again, but it has to be something which you love, right? It has to be something that you really know so well and you love to bring that knowledge to other people.
Yeah. So you agree then, right? We agree that you have to understand your own goal, because the goals can be completely different. If you're making a course for like one of your mastermind groups that already exists, that's a little different.
Right.
It's going to be in line with the topic and the discussions that you're already having, maybe on your weekly sessions. It's going to be complementary to that, or even a follow on to it. And that's completely different than creating something that you're going to then push out into an independent marketplace that is going to, for example, a lot of the marketplaces, and I know Brazzo touched on it a bit, they'll take the course that you have and they become responsible for marketing and selling that course for you. They take a large percentage of the course, but it's somewhat hands off. It's more hands off than doing it on your own. And that's a different beast, because they don't, the marketplace who's selling your course, they don't know your passion, they don't know your experience, they don't have any maybe intimate connection with you. What they do is they're looking for what's going to sell to other people,
Right.
what's going to catch somebody else's eye.
Right, and hopefully you have the right course. But also, these new marketplaces, which we really have to be careful of. They're just looking to get a ton of courses there. They don't really care in the beginning because that's their goal. Once they have a ton of courses, then they'll decide if they want to sell your course or not.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah. So a lot of it can just spin your wheels too.
So let's say they decided, they know what the topic is, they know they know really the reason, they know the goal. So the goal is either, and the goal also has to be very specific. So maybe it is an income, additional income, how much? A month, right? So the goal also has to be very specific. You can't just say, I want to make more money because I'll give you $1 and you just made more money, right? So it has to be very specific. Okay, so let's say they have all of that. And what I'm thinking now, the next step possibly could be, now I'm going to create an outline. All right. So maybe maybe everybody knows, yeah, of course you have to create an outline. But a lot of us, in the beginning, what did you and I do? We started creating these videos, right? But this was going back 10, 15 years ago, right? So create a really good outline so that you know the structure of your course. What do you think? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think also, like, in creating that outline, a bit of research comes into play because it all comes back to what your goal is. So if your goal again is to create a division out of your business that's selling online courses, similar to what you and I have in our worlds, then you want to know what that outline is going to look like. Are you going to, if you're an academic, right? Are you going to create an outline from an academic perspective?
Yes.
And then realize, right, and you want to do your research. If I have an academic sounding course, how likely is it that it's going to sell to the mass? I mean, there's that. You probably remember one of our friends and mentor, Tal Ben Shahar, saying about research papers. Like, it said, years and years go into creating a research paper, an academic research paper, and then usually, two people read it, right? The person who wrote it and the person's mother. So nobody really actually, so you really want to be aware. So one of the ways to do some research that at least I've found really helpful in creating that outline is to find topics that are similar in your area, maybe that are even selling books, really popular books online, and see what you see the general flow of what it is, the information that they're offering, and what type of chapter headings that they're adding to their books. And the reason you want to do this is because it's following a path of success, right? This book is already, or this program that's out already, or this book is already being really successful. It's in the same topic area that you have, and it'll help to spark some ideas, and you'll start to see, okay, maybe I don't want to use an academic title. Maybe I want to use something that touches somebody's human emotion here instead of something that's academic and more dry.
Right. And that comes to, another question which, any marketer will ask you, who's your audience, right? Now this gets tricky because honestly these days, I don't believe in that old marketing way, which is, well, my, create an avatar and my audience is, male 15 to 32 and all that crap. It's not anymore, right? Because it's different these days. But it is important. You talked about research. I just had in post-psychology master coach in the last cohort, I had a lady who was a PhD, who was a researcher, and although a program is all about applying the research, I put a lot of research papers for those who want to read that, and she loved it. So like you still have to see who's your audience, right? But if you put too much research out there and your audience doesn't care about it, they just want to apply it, then
that's what I mean. Yeah. So if your audience is, if you're looking to put together a more academic approach, and that's your audience, and that's then that's great. That's what you should do. If you're looking to touch maybe somebody's life or people's lives who have very little understanding of your topic, but they could use your topic, right? It'll better their life. It'll help them. Then you want to do a more populist approach, right? You want to start looking at, okay, what are the popular, self-help programs and books? Mm-hmm. What are they? And again, it's not taking the chapter headings. It's giving you an idea of what's already successful out in the marketplace.
Thanks for saying that, because we don't want people now to go out there, look at the outline of somebody's book or course, and then go, oh, he's so or she's so successful, I'm going to do the same thing. Please don't do that.
No. It's about just getting an
Exactly.
idea of what type of things are. And another way to do it is look at YouTube videos, even the titles of YouTube videos in your topic area, and what's capturing views. Because you might be surprised that some of the titles, you're like, wow, that title sounds like it. It's maybe feel off track for you a little bit. And yet, comparatively, a drier title, a more academic title, might have a fraction of the views, which just says that whether you like it or not, that the population, maybe the population they're going after, are drawn in maybe when you speak or when you put your outline together in a different fashion.
Yeah, that's a good point. So now I'm thinking, okay, again, as I said in the beginning, there's a lot, of course, involved in creating the course. But it's just something popped to my mind. What I did when I decided the very first day, when I decided that I don't want to teach any longer without mentioning the name, something that's so structured that I have to follow it. I want to teach my own. And I know I told you this story, but what I did that day, that very first day when I made the decision, I get a goosebumps when I think about it. I went to the basement, I put the camera in front of me, and I started recording what I call my very first own program. Now, was that ever published? Of course not. That wasn't the idea to be published. But the idea was that I get started as soon as I made the decision. I started, right? So you need to take the action. You need to take the action.
And it's not even just the physical action, it's the action of what you just said. You put the camera on, because and you and I have worked with people who've created their first online courses, and this little sucker right here, right in front of you, right in front of your face, can throw you off a little bit if you're not used to it. So getting started right away, making either practice videos or just putting the camera in front of your face. It can take some time to get used to having that camera there and to feel more natural, like to feel more yourself in front of the camera.
It takes a time, and a lot of people, most people are basically not comfortable. And for that reason, I actually put, I know you do it too, but I put in my program, every assignment, every final assignment of these 9 courses is the video that they have to create. Right? And they have to do the headshot, they have to do presentation. So it's all the combination to prepare them, right? If they want to teach, and they do, regardless if that's online course or offline or workshop, whatever that is, we want to knowledge that we have, we want to now transfer it. That's why
that's all. That's transferring it and practice. So I would literally say, like Brazzo said, go in your basement, go in your room, carry your cell phone, get used to getting on the camera, and somewhat of a more, right, because I think over this past year with COVID, probably a good portion of the population is comfortable being on Zoom and what have you. You're doing an online course, there is that extra element of, I'm going to be selling this course, right? So there's a little bit more of a formal element to it, and that formal element, I had run a local TV show for a while, so I know being in front of the camera when it's a little bit more formal. It's just something about that in the psychology, which to make you feel a little bit more rigid and a little bit less comfortable.
Yes.
So getting more used to it, having the camera in front of you all the time, can be a huge help when you actually sit down to, after you've created your outline, you've determined your goal, to actually create the course.
So, all right. So briefly, just to recap what we talked about is, having the goal, knowing why, having your big why, right? With anything that we do, why you're creating this course, do some of your own research, make sure you are passionate about that subject, all right? Creating an outline, and basically just turning on the flip on the camera. There's no more flips these days, right? You and I talk about all this.
You're giving away the age.
There's no more flip, guy. Just turn it on. And practice, have some fun and enjoy it, and have fun while you're doing this. That's another thing, right?
Yeah.
Always have fun. This is not about, yes, you want to make money, but have fun. Otherwise,
you have to enjoy the process, and when you stop enjoying the process, stop for a little while, give yourself a break, come back to it.
Yes.
And then also realize that every video you do doesn't have to be the last video you do. So you can always come back a year later and say, hey, I'm not happy the way that one came out. Let me redo that video. That's the beauty of an online course. You can update it. And I'd recommend, right, we'll talk about this another time maybe,
Yeah.
but recommend going and updating as things change.
You're right. We should talk about that for folks
Yeah.
who already have something out there. Awesome. My friend, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
And thank you,
everyone. And
whoever's
we'll...
on here.
Cool, buddy. We'll talk to you soon then.
Okay.
Take
Talk
care.
soon.
Cheers, Patrick. Bye-bye.